Hey guys, Lex here, and today we're talking about the 0.5 patch notes. Much of what was posted was basically gone over in the initial reveal stream and subsequent teaser videos they've been releasing, but we just have some extra information and more exact numbers attached to all this stuff now. Overall, I'll say that I'm very much looking forward to this update. The endgame changes are obviously sick, and I am super curious about trying the new league mechanic and rune shaping. Really interested to see how that'll change up my campaign progression and build creation, as well as getting some pseudo life from Runic Ward and all that. I mean, hey, I'll take it if you're not going to add life to the passive skill tree. But what I personally wanted to go over were some of the balance changes and, well, outright nerfs that are in these patch notes. As many of you know, I play shield builds, and we definitely got hit with some rough ones again. But it's all good, because I do think shield builds, and specifically shield wall builds, will still be totally viable, especially some of the ones that I came up with, if I am to be so humble. But I wanted to give you my take and interpretation of how some of these patch notes affect us shield build players specifically. I know a lot of you are here about the Shield Wall and Fortifying Cry changes, so I will timestamp that section if you just want to skip to that discussion. But I'm going to start down here at the player changes section. Nothing too crazy here. I think the change to bleeds inflicted on players is cool. Makes it a little easier on us, since we will no longer aggravate the bleeding while moving. Basically just a survivability buff. And this one here, the defenses keyword no longer exists. They're just changing this to mean armor, evasion, and energy shield. It's basically just a pure cosmetic description change, as they note here. So they discussed this next one at length, but the leech effect got hit with a nerf. You can no longer leech from multiple sources. You can only have a single leech instance active at any one time, and it'll be your strongest source of leech. So you can't overlap multiple leech attacks to regain a bunch of health, essentially. The attacks that result in weaker leech numbers won't do anything if you already have a stronger leech effect restoring your health at that moment, if I'm understanding that right. They also added a cap to the damage scaling of leech, as you can see here. Basically, any hits that hit above 40,000 damage will only leech as if they've dealt 40,000 damage. So 40k damage is the cap. However, they note that you can get more leech by increasing the percentage at this point, so that you are leeching a higher percentage of that 40k damage you are dealing. You'll basically want to stack higher leech percentages on your gear and passive skill tree to scale leech a little more effectively, it seems. You can no longer just like keep a low leech percentage and just scale damage to increase the amount leeched. Parry, shield block, and resonating shield no longer delay heavy stun buildup from decaying longer than expected. You know, I always thought it felt a little off. Like every time the stun bar filled up as I was channeling resonating shield and I stopped channeling to empty it, it definitely felt like it took a little longer than I expected. So honestly, I'm kind of a big fan of this change. Thanks for throwing us a bone, GGG. Down here we have a bunch of new lineage support gems. Several of these I believe were teased, and the one that stands out to me is Vrune's Aftermath, which allows your war cries to cause ice crystals to explode and detonates your ice fragments. Interestingly specific wording there. But yeah, it looks like you can gain 3 additional empowered attacks if you are able to destroy at least 5 total ice crystals and ice fragments. Definitely an icy boy, cold damage warrior potentially on the menu here. Bunch of unique items here, some that were included in showcases or in the reveal stream, many of which were not, but obviously we have Nightfall here. I made a short video discussing this shield and how interesting it is having both a projectile portion and slam portion to the skill it grants you, alongside all of these cold damage defenses and effects. I'm likely going to gun for the shield as quickly as I can, because I am so interested in trying it out. So keep an eye out for a Nightfall build video in the near future. Just a quick note about build guides here. I think it's awesome that they are trying to include more and more features into the base game. Honestly, good on GGG for doing things like this, you know, and like asynchronous trading, so that we can spend more time actually in your game than alt tabbing and having to look stuff up elsewhere. You know, W change, and yes, I plan on making my builds compatible with this, so stay tuned. Speaking of which, huge quality of life change here, being able to just shift alt click your item into the filters of the trade menu so that you can search similar items or just see current prices. That's going to save me so much time. Thank you, GGG. Then we get to the Ascendancy changes. Honestly, not a whole lot here that is specific to warriors. Well, nothing for warriors actually, but not a whole lot that is specific to shield builds here either. So honestly, I'm just gonna skip this section for the most part. Though there are some very cool changes to Chronomancer and especially Gemling. Jesus Christ. Check out the official GGG highlight video on those, but they added so many additional effects to like all skills Gemling can use based on the quality of the gem. Legit insane. But yeah, let's get to some of the passive skill tree changes. I think the new life recoup speed passive skills could potentially be useful to shield builds, particularly to Warbringers. If you take Turtle Charm, you have a higher maximum block chance cap at 75%, at the cost of taking 20% damage from all blocked hits, which has great synergy with an existing node called Made to Last. Essentially, you're taking 80% reduced damage from all blocked hits when you take Turtle Charm, and that passive skill tree node allows you to recoup 5% of that prevented damage, which is a pretty strong source of recoup on its own, and that on top of other current recoup nodes, whatever the new ones are also, and rolling it on your gear might make life stacking and life recoup a pretty strong option as far as survivability in 0.5 goes. Adamant Recovery has been replaced with Fortified Aegis, which grants 100% increased armor, evasion, and energy shield from equipped shield. So this is basically what Core of the Guardian does right now, which is located very close to where they are placing this new passive skill tree node. And they've actually changed Core of the Guardian, as you can see here as well. It now grants 30% increased block chance at the cost of 20% reduced maximum energy shield, which is kind of cool that this has no downside if you are an armor and life stacker. This change is related to Wide Barrier, which is also located in that same cluster of nodes. And this one, conversely to Core of the Guardian, does the same thing, grants 30% increased block chance at the cost of 20% reduced armor. That's the difference there. Very interesting that you could take this for more block chance as a non-armor stacker to avoid that downside. Pretty cool, I like the changes here. Jumping back up here, Covering Ward got a small buff, gain 25 energy shield when you block, previously 20, and 12% increased block chance, which it currently does not have. So it's nice to have more increased block chance options on the passive skill tree here, pretty cool. But it looks like they got rid of the increased energy shield recharge rate, which it currently increases by 25%. And it looks like a big portion of the passive skill tree changes revolve around adjusting and nerfing, honestly, energy shield recharge rates. So this notable took a hit in that regard. The Goring notable took a big hit. I only mention this because I use it on my Spear and Shield Bleed Warrior build, but it's a leech node that now increases your max life by 3% instead of reducing it. That's kind of nice, but they not only brought down its increased life leech to 20% from 30%, they also removed the 40% increased physical damage. Come on, GGG, why? Removing 40% increased physical damage from a notable is a pretty big nerf. Although another leech change is to Voracious. This one I've used before and is very close to the warrior side of the tree, but it no longer grants 20% of life leeches instant. It instead grants 15% increased attack speed while leeching. I gotta say, I don't think I hate that change. That's actually a ton of attack speed. That actually seems super valuable, to be honest, so I think I'll definitely try that one out. Wide Barrier we already talked about. There are several other leech changes, but I don't want to go over all of them. I just wanted to speak on the ones that I have personal experience with, so moving on to the skill changes. We have a Bone Shatter nerf here with the attack speed from quality, so you now get a maximum of 20% increased attack speed instead of 30%. Honestly, for me, that's fine, but I know there was some insane Bone Shatter tech where people were just using it as a travel skill, so I mean, I guess this might be an attempt to nerf that. Eternal Rage, big nerf here. As I was using this on my Shield Druid build in one specific weapon set, I can see why they made this change, though. It was easy to reserve the Spirit for Eternal Rage in one weapon set, then swap to another and get the benefits of a full Rage bar by simply standing there or walking around with the Eternal Rage weapon set and just letting your Rage bar fill up, so I get it. Alright, we've arrived at the big one. Fortifying Cry now only consumes one stack when you detonate a shield wall to create a shockwave around each shield wall segment. Fortifying Cry shockwaves from a single shield wall cannot hit the same enemy multiple times, and Shield Wave now deals 5 to 7 added physical damage per 15 armor on your shield instead of 6 to 8. So very clearly a nerf all around here, guys. Obviously damage scaling tapped lightly, but it's the shotgun effect that a lot of us are going to miss. That is what allowed many of us to just nuke down bosses by overlapping the shield waves from each segment on a shield wall. I think you could potentially have up to like 10 or 11 shield waves popping out from one shield wall, something ridiculous. It's a big nerf here, guys, but I mean, this might be a hot take. I kind of get why they did that. I mean, shield wall detonation gobbling up all of your empowered attacks from Fortifying Cry never felt intentional, to be honest. And I mean, you could delete many tier 3 pinnacles and like 2 to 3 shield walls, skipping their second phases, all of that with a budget high armor shield. So I mean, it did feel a little too strong to me. However, I've seen some talk on YouTube and Reddit saying that means shield wall is now dead, it's over. And I'm here to say, nah, you're dead wrong. you're overreacting. That broken combo is dead, but Shield Wall builds are nowhere near dead. I mean, they did lightly nerf the Shield Wall damage scaling as well, just to be in line with Fortifying Cry's scaling, but these are still two very potent sources of damage. As an example, I'll show you a clip of one of my shield builds here. Just for testing, I decided to show off some Shield Wall damage numbers by detonating it with Infernal Cry rather than Fortifying Cry. Unempowered, no shotgun effect on tier 3 Zest here, and I mean, the damage is still there, guys. I just think it means you'll have to lean into inflicting hardcore ailments, perhaps, from Shield Wall in some way, which pretty much all of my shield builds do anyway. And Fortifying Cry will still hit as hard as Shield Wall if you put in the right support gems. It's just not going to hit like multiple shield walls with the overlapping effect. So I mean, I'm still going to use it as the ideal detonator for that skill even now, but we'll have to play around with some different setups and trying to have Fortifying Cry and Shield Wall interact a little bit differently. I'm rambling, but overall, I'm here to say that Shield Wall is still a viable build without a doubt. Aside from that, other shield skills got tapped on the damage side as well. Resonating Shield has its damage scaling similarly nerfed to be in line with the new Fortifying Cry and Shield Wall scaling, and so did Magma Barrier. They nerfed Magma Barrier again. GGG, why? Seriously, it's already been beaten down so many times. Just let it have the one extra damage scaling. You know, just let it. Anyways, that's basically it for the skill changes, guys. The big one really is Fortifying Cry as far as shield builds go, but let's move on and see what we got for support gem changes down here. Brink 1 being able to cut as a level 1 support gem is actually pretty awesome. I often use Raise Shield and the Shield Bash as I'm going through the campaign, and it's especially useful in Act 1. So being able to socket the Shield Bash with this and prime things for stun rather than heavy stunning them outright is great. It just sets up bosses for bone shatters more quickly and effectively. So not super relevant to shield builds specifically, but Shock Conduction 2 I used on my shield druid, and they just straight up removed it from the game, which is just hilarious to me because it was the easiest way to inflict shock on something. I swear, from like a stat and gear requirements perspective, you literally just had to be able to cast Thunderstorm with this socketed and you were good to go. So I see why they removed it, though it's kind of funny that deleting it is the solution here. And that's basically it for support gems. Going to look through the uniques and see if there's anything interesting as far as shield stuff goes. There are only really two here that stand out to me personally with my builds. One is the Black Flame unique ring. That's a wordy patch note, but basically they added this withered effect to it where withered increases fire damage taken, and Withered does not expire on enemies that are ignited by you, in addition to what it originally does, which is making targets take chaos damage instead of fire damage from ignites. Seems interesting, honestly. I think I'll play around with it on one of my Avatar Fire Shield Warrior builds, seeing if I can make the Withered effect and chaos damage worth it. But honestly, what stands out to me is the jump from 50% increased ignite magnitude to between 80 and 100%. That's a huge buff to that stat, even with the further reduced ignite duration here. And I know how much of a meme ignite is as an ailment in the community, but I've gotten it to do some pretty big favors for me, burning down tier 3 pinnacles with like fire-infused shield walls. So this is definitely another unique I am curious to check out. And then there's Phelan, lower armor shield that I normally don't use on my builds, but still a cool item with its lucky block effect and cast on block, which has been buffed so that these socketed skills cost nothing. And it can also roll between 50 and 100 runic wards. So I don't think I'm going to be using this personally, but these are just cool buffs. You know, I just wanted to mention them. All right, any item changes worth noting? Oh yes, this one. So the amount of armor granted by items and modifiers has been increased as you get to higher levels. At level 65, you should have approximately 33% more armor, tapering down to 15% at level 80 plus. So this makes me think that, and I've seen other creators confirming this, that maybe the damage scaling nerf on those shield skills is ultimately like a non-factor. Because if I'm understanding this correctly, we may have shields that give us more armor according to this change. So maybe those damage number nerfs are even less of a factor than I initially thought, but we'll see. Similar note of the base armor of existing items will be automatically adjusted. Could be up or down. I'm going to guess up, but they say adjusted, so I'm not sure here. And the level of all melee skills mods. We're seeing some nerfs here. Two-handed attack weapons now have a value of +5 at tier 1, previously +7, and one-handed attacks now have a value of +4 at tier 1, previously +5. And for me, as someone that pretty much exclusively uses one-handers for my builds, this doesn't affect me much. I'm totally fine with it, though I'm not sure if the solution to the plus skills issue ultimately is just reducing the tiers' respective numbers. Seems kind of ham-fisted in a way, but maybe that's just me. Perfect Essence of Battle also got nerfed to provide +3 level of all attack skills on two-handers, +2 all attack skills on one-handers. Numbers are seeming kinda low to me here despite the determinism, but I guess this is just in line with the overall plus skills nerf. Body runes got a significant buff, more life per socket when socketed in armor items, and also significantly more leech percentage when socketed in weapons. Makes sense here, as I said earlier. It seems like the higher percentages of leech are what one will have to shoot for when it comes to scaling it. And honestly, we're seeing buffs across the board when it comes to a lot of runes, so that's really cool to see. Though it looks like iron runes are excluded from this. Bummer. Anyways, Idol of Gold, now socketed into boots, grants 50% increased total power counted by war cries. That's the relevant part to me, and honestly seems kind of cool. I'm not sure if I'd run it over like a movement speed rune or some iron rune, since I don't think the number of empowered attacks from war cries ever felt like a problem to me, but we'll see. I might check it out. Bear Idol got a buff here, 10% increased AoE rather than 8%. Love to see that. Ox Idol also got a big buff, 15% increased block chance in shields rather than 10%. Wolf Idol also got a buff. That's useful for my bleed build. Honestly, great stuff all around. Next sections focus on monster changes, quest changes, etc. They aren't super relevant to shield builds specifically, though the dedicated keybind to separate dodge rolls and sprints is actually awesome. So again, that's another big W from GGG as far as quality of life goes. The rest are just bug fixes. One that cracked me up is they fixed the Bloated Miller's backhand attack, which I yapped about in a couple of my videos. It was basically unblockable, so I'm glad that they caught that, and there are a bunch of others here, but I think I've touched upon the stuff that I've wanted to at this point. So overall, I guess the takeaway is this for us shield build enjoyers. Yes, they nerfed the Shield Wall Fortifying Cry combo, but no, the build is not dead. Far from it. We still need to see what those armor buffs look like on shields later on in the game, but yeah, again, not to be too selfish here, but the shield builds that I always relied on were more about hitting hard with Shield Wall itself and inflicting a strong ailment to do some crazy work for us, rather than relying on the shotgun effect from Fortifying Cry, which I will miss, don't get me wrong. It was fun blasting down bosses alongside watching them bleed or burn out, but I am confident in saying that Shield Wall builds will still be totally viable in 0.5. They might just look a little bit different than what most players have been relying on. Anyways, it's going to be it from me. I will have a video going over 3 options for 0.5 League starters, 1 for each warrior ascendancy, and these will all be based on what I just described to you. You know, fire-infused or blood loss-focused Shield Wall builds that are strong for clearing and boss killing. But that's going to be it for this video. I will see you in the next one.